Hello, all you wonderful people out there. Happy Thursday. We got a special one for you guys today. Obviously, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Gwen on the other side over there. He just finished a tour across America in the Cabrinha RV, hitting all these amazing locations across the country. So, in this show, we wanted to bring up one, top locations for maybe families to visit, amazing places that were unheard of and now amazing wing locations, tips and tricks and trends that are happening in the wing foil world. We're going to kind of go through all this stuff because Gwen was lucky enough to travel around the country, I think 3 months and over 30 plus stops and 12,000 plus miles of
Too
driving
many,
and
too many.
too many miles. Gwen, if you'd, be kind enough to kind of share a little bit of info on kind of, what went down and then we can kind of get into the questions and go from
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Well, I think okay. First, like how I got this opportunity was like about a year ago. That's when I met you, Damien. And maybe we can go like quickly over that. Like how I'm curious to hear from you, Damien. Like how did that happen from your perspective? Because then maybe I can go into like how I reach out to you. But tell us like what happened when like this guy from Idaho like reached out to you that
Okay, so simple story. There's this crazy French guy. His name's Gwen. He's on the other side over there. No, I'm just kidding. Just he reached out through social media and was like, "Hey, I'd love to film some stuff. Looks like you do some cool stuff." And of course, I say yes to everything. Was like, "Hey, yeah, sure, come on up." It was like a rainy weekend, and I was like, "Gwen, come on up to Jupiter."
does
I don't
it
know this
happen like
guy.
does this happen like on a regular basis for you or what? That people
I
reach
would
out.
say, yeah, I mean, you definitely get reached out by, definitely more nowadays because we're trying to help people as much as we can with, foil, wing foiling and foiling in general and anything in life, so definitely we get reached out a lot. But this was unique because you just wanted to film something. And that's when we got the legend Harry and the Olivier family and James McGrath and some of our pro riders here locally. And we met like on a Saturday, I think it was, and it was just total rainstorm, gnarly, horrible. And Gwen came up and filmed some stuff. And I actually think I had some meetings and I like literally gave you all my wing gear and it was like new at the time. And I said, "You'll be fine."
Yeah, I mean, one looking back, I can't believe we had wind that weekend because I was only here for like one weekend and yeah, I don't know. Now like I'm here and there is no wind and I just like it seems like in during that season, which was like back in at the end of September last year, it doesn't seem like there is like that much wind here at that time of the year. But we did get some wind and we filmed some stuff and then you gave me the wing gear, which I had never winged before. I was definitely interested in winging, but just took the gear. You had to like yeah you just gave it to me and then I went on my own. And like I didn't know anything. I mean like I had seen somebody winging, so like somebody up on foil holding the wing. That's all I knew. And I went in the water, but I didn't know how you go from being in the water to like getting up on foil. And I grew up windsurfing, so I had that definitely helped. But yeah, spent 2 hours at the causeway. It was blowing like crazy. I mean, I don't know, 30 or something. I had the 5 meter wing on the 75-liter board, which now looking back, because actually last weekend we were in Tampa and we raced, and I went back. It was light wind, so I went on a 75-liter board, and I was like, I can't believe I was like as a total beginner went on a 75-liter board. It seems like so unstable. Um, and spent 2 hours. I barely got up on my feet, and I was all chafed up because the pad that was on your board, Damien, was like very grippy, which was
It was
great,
like sandpaper.
but not for your chest or your. The worst I think was like my knees and my feet, where like just the skin was gone, and it was just like bloody. And I actually had, I think I still to this day have a scar on my foot.
Okay, so obviously you went through this challenging time. The funny part you didn't know, Harry, my dear friend, the legend who you guys all know, the incredible human who does all the crazy stuff. He was shooting me videos because he was watching Gwen, this random new guy, learn how to wing, and he was sending me these videos of Gwen like getting murdered in 30 knots in Seward. And I was like, okay, good. Well, at least he didn't like drive off with my gear, you know, at least he's trying, you know. So that's how Gwen and I started. And I've worked for Cabrinha for a long time, and they decided to make this tour across America with this RV and share the sport, you know, around the country. And
Yeah,
Gwen
yeah,
took it on.
yeah. So like one day, Kent, Cabrinha CEO, like called me because we have been working together, Damien, making videos, and Kent calls me and he like throw the idea of the out there of like doing a US tour where I would be doing demos and filming and making videos because I had been doing demos with you, Damien, and then we had been making videos. So it seemed like it would be like the perfect fit. It was quite the adventure for me, like amazing opportunity. I had not seen a lot of spots in the US. So it was definitely like very exciting, but also kind of scary, because I just don't know anywhere. I just don't know really like anybody. But like so we started July, very like early July, first week of July, and we were kind of late, so we were supposed to do like a bunch of stops on the East Coast, but because we were late, we skipped a few stops. So did the East Coast first, and Evan Netch from Cape Hatteras came with me, and he's the rep, the Cabrinha rep for like the Northeast. So he knows all of the spots, he knows everybody, all of the shops, and that was like a game changer. Going like knowing, having somebody with you that knows the spot is so important. I just can't even imagine if I just didn't know the
How about
spots.
knowing how to park the RV in places like that?
Well, so also, first, before we even went on the tour, I took the RV. The RV is huge. It's 31 feet long. It's like a toy hauler. So the back of the RV is all it's a garage with like loaded up of with gear. First weekend I took it, that was even before the tour. I took it to make a promo video for the tour. So try like right away, like I take it one like I didn't know how to like turn on the backup camera. It was like a weird system. Like it was like a switch in the back of the RV. Anyway, so I take the RV. There's nobody. I just get the keys from the mailbox, drive the RV. No backup camera, no like music or anything. I'm like, there is no way I'm gonna go around the country without music. And then no backup camera. That thing is huge. So I show up and I go in the driveway. I think the first time going in my driveway, fine. The second time I touched the mailbox, which then first scratch, and I was like, what the hell? Like the thing is like, before I came to like Florida, I was a firefighter in Idaho, and I used to drive fire trucks, which are like huge as well. So I was pretty confident I would be fine, but still touch a mailbox because the back of the RV, the garage, like sticks out behind the back wheel, so it swings out like so much. So anyway, driving the RV is definitely a challenge, and I would say like on the East Coast, it was like very challenging. And personally, if I was to like travel for myself and go explore and wing at a bunch of spots on the East Coast, I would not do it with an RV unless you are towing a car and maybe you can like stop at a campground and then like go to the spot like that, because the reality is that I would say 60 to 70% of the spots on the East Coast I could not park near the spot. I had to park about, every time it would be either like a mile away or more. So either we would carry all of the stuff with Evan, we put like 5 kites on our back, like carry like twin tips and everything, and we just walk to the spot. Or we have like, we know local shop, and people like help us doing shuttles with their car. So the East Coast was definitely very challenging for the RV. And then actually like the very first demo which we did with you, Damien, in Jupiter, I got a parking ticket. And if you know Jupiter, it seems like it would be pretty ideal. You can park right next to the spot. It's free. You can park, all day long if you want. So I was like, the first stop is easy. It's ideal. And then I still got a parking ticket because the RV was like on 2 spots. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, so that was the very beginning of it. First demo in Jupiter. We actually got win in July, so that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into what I want to so people know out there. So obviously Gwen drove all around the country. He hit places in, South Carolina, New York, Boston, Erie, Wisconsin, Hood River, Oregon, San Francisco, Michigan, Tampa, Idaho.
And we didn't even do everything we wanted to. We just kind of like ran out of time, because there is even like, even though we did about 30 demos, there is still a lot of spots that could have been really cool, but it just wasn't. We kind of ran out of time.
And some of these spots, just for everybody out there listening in, they're looking to branch into some incredible places. Lake McConaughey was one of them. Corpus Christi is one that's a really consistent windy place. I lived there actually training 20 some years ago. It's always pretty consistent, but let's get into some of the questions, Gwen. I think this is important for everybody to kind of understand what's going on around the country. I think this is unique. You had a first glimpse around the United States on what is happening in the water sports industry, for sure, for wing foiling in general, and kite surfing. If you were to pick, like, I have my family, I want to learn this new sport. Is there like 1 or 2 locations that you're like, man, this would be the spot I would take my family to learn wing foiling or kite surfing? Is there one that when you traveled around, did 1 or 2 stand out to you in your travels?
Well, I would say Hood River was pretty ideal. They do have like, I think it's called like the hook, which is very flat. So for learning, it's like so perfect. And then you can you can do like downwinders. You can you have some swell, but it's pretty friendly. Like it's not, you never have like a lot of spots like you go to the beach and there's a huge shore break, or and it doesn't make it like super safe for learn or super easy for learning. But Hood River, I would say, had the I think the easiest setup from, or most convenient from beginner to like advanced. Everybody could go pretty much in the same area, and everybody would have fun.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, and you have the fact that you have Mount Hood right next to you. You can go for hikes and climbing and go skiing. There's a lot you can do there. A couple questions that, have come in. How much did you see traveling around on inflatable wing boards versus non-inflatable wing boards? Did you notice a trend of more or less, or not really seeing them? What was your take on that?
Inflatables, wingboard, I haven't seen any, I think, during the tour. The only one I've seen are like were like here before the tour, and I talked about it before, but what I found is like, most people that end up using an inflatable wingboard end up never deflating it. So I think like when they get it, they are like, oh, I have a small car, I want to be able to pack it up. And then the reality is like, I mean, I've done like 30 demos, like pumping kites and wings and stuff. Like it's annoying. And if you like add like something, a piece of your equipment that now you have to inflate, where it could just be like ready to go, I understand that like you end up not wanting to pump it up every single time. So it kind of defeats the purpose. Then you get an inflatable board, but then you always leave it inflated, which now takes the same room as like a normal board, yet on the performance is not quite as the same as like a real a handboard.
Now, this question I thought was really good that came in. When you were traveling around, when you were looking at foilers, or whether it was wing foiling, kite foiling, did you notice more carbon versus aluminum, or aluminum versus carbon, or was it kind of a mix of both, or definitely did you have see one that stood out more than another?
I think carbon for the most part is like what we see the most, and I think maybe because we tend to think that carbon is better, which could be true, but carbon is not always better. And like a funny story is like I went to Martha's Vineyard, and we were doing with Rob Douglas, the speed guru, and so we were like, okay, we want to do some speed stuff with the wing, put him on different setup, and then the feedback was like, his feedback was, I like the aluminum mast better. I think it's faster. I think it's stiffer, and that kind of like blew me away. I was like, wow, like I was not expecting that at all from a performance like side. I was thinking carbon like 100% beats aluminum every time. The truth is not really, not necessarily. And so I guess it's very hard to make like carbon like very stiff, and so that is a challenge on the carbon side. And so I have seen more carbon used through like all the stops, but that might be just like what we believe. Carbon is not necessarily always better.
What about when you were looking at the wings as you traveled around? Did you notice more windows, less windows, no windows? What was kind of the take on windows versus non-windows on customers out there, or people out there enjoying it? Did you notice a lot of windows, or just kind of curious?
Yeah, I would say no. I would say it was pretty like 50-50. I think like the industry right now is kind of like changing, and I've been to places like Hood River and San Francisco where like there's so many people on the water winging. There's so much traffic from boats. I mean, you go to like Hood River or San Francisco under the Golden Gate Bridge, and you have like massive ships. In Hood River, you have this like ships that like go like on the river, and you kind of want to know like what's going on around you. So I personally I found that like riding with windows in places that were like busy was definitely like better. Just like and on the performance side, I don't know. I mean, you don't see, it's not a huge difference. Now I know everybody is worried about more of like the how long it's gonna last, but from talking with people in the industry, wing designers, it seemed like the material that is used now for windows is pretty legit, and we shouldn't be like too worried about it.
Yeah, no, that's great info. How about harnesses versus no harnesses, and then we'll get into leashes and non-leashes. And quick, we'll say, Ben, thank you so much for thanks to Gwen, you pretty much started winging. So heck yeah. We're stoked to hear people out there winging and loving it, and we appreciate you, Ben. But what was your take traveling across the country on people using harnesses, non-harnesses? What's kind of the trend that you saw there? Because I know, myself, I haven't really been into it. And then this past weekend in Tampa, I used a harness and I was like, wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, I would say I haven't really seen anybody, or I don't know, maybe just a few with harnesses until I went to San Francisco. I would say San Francisco was the first place where really people were like, like using harnesses. I think the reason for that is like San Francisco is like so into the racing aspect of winging, and I have just actually recently when we did the race and in Tampa, like I tried the harness for winging, And it is like so much nicer if you are gonna be um one, like pushing it, trying to go as fast as you can, and two, you are gonna go one way for a very long time. Having a harness is a game changer. Now, maybe the reason I haven't seen that is most of the spot, like people were not really into racing. People would go back and forth quickly. In Revere, people ride the swell. So yeah, harnesses, not, I haven't seen that many yet, but I do believe that as like brands come up with harnesses that are a bit more lightweight, more minimalist, and that, like, like doesn't get in the way. Right, so far what I've been using is like a kite harness, which is like, it's nice once you are hooked in, but for like climbing on your board and everything, it's annoying. So I don't want to use that kind of harness all the time, because I don't really necessarily need it. But as we see like more like lightweight harnesses, I could see um it would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think just to chime in for everybody out there, I think I never looked at this is my opinion, but I never was like, harness. Yeah, maybe for racing, of course, because you're putting more leverage, you're ripping up wind, you're harnessing a lot of power with your wing. But here's what I would say to everybody out there that's like maybe not willing to do the harness. My thought now is, after I used one this past weekend, um, my thought now is, yeah, I enjoy riding the waves. Well, I can tell you that if you want to lock in, go upwind really easy, and like take a load off and just relax and cruise upwind, and then get to the top of the swell and then ride swell for like ever, then tack and do a big long, man, I could see just locking into the harness and just loving that and going upwind and then unhook and just have the time of your life. So I personally see I'll be using it for the future for sure. And Ben, who's commenting again, I just want to throw this out here. Ben, I love it that you're out there learning, and look, any gear you can get your hands on, and struggling to learn and making the best out of it, dude. Good on you. Look, we're here to inspire people, and you're making the most of it. So right on, Ben. He's chiming in. He's been, everybody learns this sport, goes through the struggles, and whether you have the right gear or not, look, you're learning it, and that's like the most fun part. Next question, Gwen, on your road trip travels, best coffee, where was the best coffee?
Well, best coffee, hands down, was in Santa Cruz, a coffee shop called Cat and Cloud. I'm just huge fan of this coffee shop, so that would be my number one. I don't know, maybe number two could be in Hood River. Stocked Coffee Roasters was really awesome. And John asked that because I'm like very like passionate about coffee, and during the tour, like everywhere I went, I would always try to find the local coffee roasters, and more of like the specialty coffee shops. Actually, right now I'm drinking coffee from Cape Cod. There's this Three Fin Coffee, a really cool coffee shop as well. But yeah, coffee is my thing. And if you have seen the episode, go to like the Cabrinha YouTube channel. I made episodes of like every stops, and in some of the episode I show like the just a quick like snip of me making coffee with my like manual espresso machine. That this is like
Gwen has a coffee addiction, everybody. I'm just letting you know. Just want to make sure everybody knows out there that he has a little bit of a coffee addiction. I'm the same. I'm like, love my purity coffee. It's absolutely magic. Next question. What's the average age of people learning wing foiling that when you were traveling around, or was there not an average? It was all ages.
For sure, like, I would say like for the most part, it's more like 45 to 65 is the number like one like crowd that I would see. In Hood River, I did see a lot more young people get into it. In San Francisco as well. But for the most part, it is 45, 65, and from our videos, with you, Damien, and when we look at the analytics and we see our audience, where they come from, who they are, it is the same. It is male. 45, 65 is the biggest crowd of people getting into winging.
Awesome. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. So you were at AWSI, which is one of the biggest water sports sort of events in Hood River, which all the companies show up there, and they show all their new products for the future. And was there anything that stood out from my feedback? There was some talk on a wing. They worked really well in light winds, maybe some new handles. Was there something that was there some things that stood out that you could talk to and let people know, like just things that trending or whatever that you thought were really impressive at the AWSI?
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, during AWSI, I was pretty busy with another project, the Newfound Freedom project, filming that was happening in Hood River in the same time as AWSI. So I didn't get to spend that much time at AWSI, and I didn't get to try everything, which would have been really good. But from what I've seen, it seemed like the like F1, because it was fairly light wind. And so F1 had this like big 8-meter wing, I think, with like it was a 3-strut wing. So you have the center strut, and you have 2 like small strut, even like on the side. And I did see quite like that was a popular one that I would see on the water. And like you would see like even kids, I mean, like they were tiny and nobody could ride, and they would go out with that thing, and they would just like do like massive jumps where like like people can't even ride like at all, experienced people. And so that was seems to be a popular one. I didn't get to try it. um Duoton has a wing. I think they use the Alula material now on their wing, and they kind of like have like 2 like handles, like the Cabrinha wings, where like you have like 2 long handles. But what they did was something that was like very. It was like it seemed like the kite bar, that kind of like feeling, and then all of it was like solid, like plastic. So when it mounts to the strut, it's like there is no wiggle, no like movement. That felt really good. Again, I didn't get to like take it on the water, so I don't know how it would do. And then on the for like the windows, like the Cabrinha X3 has like hands down like the best window like visibility. You take the X3 out, and with that like hole in the strut, where you can see through, that makes like the window like just like so big, and you can see like from like top to bottom, you can see everything that's in front of you. And that one I did I did get to like use it quite a bit on the water, and it works really well. And maybe like somebody is gonna ask like, oh no, is there a hole in the strut, like that's gonna be like not good, but no, it is stiff, and it's pretty nice.
Yeah, and we had that was well said of unique things at AWSI. We had a question come in from Ashley. AWSI seemed to show a movement in wings towards more high tech materials. Do you think this is where all the wings will go? And if you do so, the cost of materials, will that be reduced in the future, do you think? And I would answer for sure, Ashley, there's no question. I mean, everybody's going after materials for lighter, more performance, more durable. And as far as reducing the cost, I think every business is, it's kind of like the race to the bottom to be as cheap as you can. But, looking into all those materials, those actually, potentially can cost more if you want performance and the best material. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. It's hard to say, but I'm sure, I mean, the way the sport's going, you're going to see improvements drastically, in my opinion. What do you think, Gwen?
Well, yeah, I feel like I don't know. Let's say like similar to like the mountain biking industry, where like you get really good bikes that you can buy them like pretty basic, or you can go all out and get like a $10,000 bike. Yet the I don't know, $3,000 or $2,000 bike would be really good. I think that's maybe what we're gonna see in the wing industry right now. Everybody is like, the prices are like about the same, but as we see material changing, we might start seeing like wings that would be like way more expensive, or like wings that would be cheaper. So there will be something for everything, yet everything will be, you know, like pretty good. It's not that you get like a cheaper wing and it's not gonna perform. I mean, the best example to me is the Mantis. The Mantis is one of the cheapest wing out there, and yeah, like everybody loves it. On the tour, I would say the, you know, the Cabrinha Mantis wing was the most popular winging item that people tried in Hood River. Like so many people ride the Mantis. In San Francisco, people are like getting into the Mantis as well, because it turns out, even though the Mantis was like a wave wing, people love it for racing because it goes upwind really really well. So yeah, I mean, wings don't have to be like that expensive to be really good, and the Mantis to me is the perfect example.
I think the Mantis is super popular because the legend Harry Andrews uses it. That's what I think. That's period. um, and to jump into Ashley's questions again, Alula wings are, for example, double the cost. You know, I would just say, you know, all companies are out trying to find, you know, the latest and greatest and perform. I just would look at things like, you know, is that material making it ride better in lighter winds? And I'm not sure, because you have, for instance, F1 that has an 8. I don't think they have a Lula, and it's performing incredibly well. So I don't know like where that goes and how that fits in. Is it worth it? Is it not? But you know, that in time, you know, everything kind of pans out to see what's working well. Or like Gwen said, the Mantis is meant for, you know, incredible wave riding, which it is, but it actually goes upwind like a amazing, and generates incredible power. So, you know, a lot of things vary to wing, and goods and bads.
Yeah, there was like something like very interesting that I heard at AWSI from Robbie Nash, which he talked about, you know, how like, you know, everybody right now, the industry is trying to make the stiffest wing, the least, the more like canopy tension, and he said something that kind of like surprised me. I was not expecting, but he was like, you know, like stiffer, more tension is not always the best, for depending on what you want to do, depending on who you are as a rider. And yeah, I just thought like that was kind of like interesting point. You know, I don't know if he's like, you know, right or wrong, it doesn't matter, but knowing that like this is you know, like there is like not everybody has the same perspective. So now it's gonna be a matter of like exploring every option and not getting stuck into what we think is, you know, the only way. So we might start seeing maybe more like diversity into the wings that are gonna come out.
You're gonna be able to show up at the beach with your backpack and just open it up and go. Another fun question that came up was, what was the most incredible thing that you saw on your trip, like on a wing? What was the most incredible person or incredible thing that you saw happen with a wing on your trip?
Well, I mean, yeah, hands down, you know, in Hood River, seeing like Titwan Galea riding, doing just, you know, like backflips with a 5-meter wing in light wind when everybody is struggling to get going. He throws a backflip on flat water. So to me, I don't know, like you see that, and it puts it into perspective on like, you know, what's possible and where you are.
I think we need to change the show to like Gwen and Damo, the wannabe backflippers. Oh yeah, exciting times.
There is a good question from the OK Kiteboarder, which he asked, during your travel, which area are flourishing with winging and which area are slower to embrace it? And there was like a clear contrast. And I would say like on the East Coast, everywhere on the East Coast, it was definitely more kiting. We would, you know, we would show up to a demo, we would pump everything, and for the most part, kiting, people would demo our kites. And then I would say that started changing, in Hood River. So we haven't done much of the West Coast, but I would say on the East Coast it was kiting, on the West Coast it was winging, the total opposite, where we would show up to a demo and hardly anybody was interested in trying kites. Everybody wanted to try wing stuff. So right now, this is the trend that I've seen, is like the West Coast is like so into winging, where the East Coast is still, it's still not quite there.
And what M-Lock, jumped in with a question, and we kind of tapped on this in the beginning of this chat, but inflatable boards, is it rigidity, saving space? How do they compare to rigid boards? On Gwen's trip, you didn't really see many inflatable boards, so I'm not sure if the trend's hitting really hard in the United States at the moment. And every time I've spoken to people with inflatable boards, the hardest part is, yes, you have volume, which is awesome, but it also is, sometimes you can't get them stiff enough, so they're actually almost like bouncy, and they're almost even harder to stand on. And then, like Gwen was saying earlier, a lot of people actually don't want to pump up their board as well, so they just leave them inflated. So you might as well have a rigid board. That seems to be a trend, but you can check back in the beginning of this when it goes onto YouTube.
I wonder if in Europe it would be different. I know, like, for me, growing up in France, everybody has a smaller car, and here everybody shows up with a truck. So I wonder if, like, maybe in Europe there is more, inflatable boards, just because people have smaller cars and they live in a smaller house, and I'm not sure about that. It would be interesting to go do a tour in Europe, and just find out.
So maybe a tour in Europe on like a moped or something, and instead of an RV, change it up a little so that you don't have to worry about tires blowing out. You just have a little moped.
That would be amazing.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so as we wind down the show, obviously it's a work week, everybody's working, and we're trying to just share some positivity. Gwen, as we round this down, one, thank you for sharing your information to everybody out there. I think it's very valuable. And two, what can we leave everybody with today on a note, on a Thursday, how to inspire, how to motivate people to keep them living their best life? What do you want to say?
Well, for me, like, I just went all around the country to, like, supposedly, like, some of the most famous spots. And in the end, I think sometimes we just, like, we wish we would be there. We wish we would be somewhere else. We think somewhere else is better. But in the end, like, where you are, for the most part, maybe not, but, like, that might not apply 100% of the time. But for the most part, to me, I feel like where you are is, like, is there is, like, so many good things about it. And one thing is, like, the people, having your friend, having, your family, having your group, your tribe with you where you are. To me, this is, like, what I've seen the most important. You can show up to, like, what seems to be the best spot on the planet, but if you just don't have your community, it's not going to be as good. So I would say, like, just make sure that wherever you are, this is an important thing. Have your friend, take care of your friends, maintain this relationship, make them better, and together you're gonna have, like, so much more fun than if you were, like, at the best spot on the planet but you don't have your friends with you.
Did you miss me, buddy?
I did. I mean, it's like, that's why, like, here, to me, like, this is perfect. Jupiter, Florida, I love it. The community is amazing. I have my friends there. Yeah, there is, like, some really cool places all around, but home is where it's at, in my opinion.
So I'll chime in on top of that and just say to everybody, I think you know, what I've learned sort of recently, or I just had a little baby girl who's just magnificent. But you know, it's a challenge, it's work in progress, it's hard. But you know, as Gwen said, you know, making sure you have your community and really enjoying what you have wherever you are. I think that's like even coming more reality in my life because you know, you with a new child, there's challenges, you know, you get tired, you get burnout, you're like, holy geez, you know, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? But then there's like being in the moment or being in that community or being present with your group and making the best of that area is super important. And I relate that to Ava Grace, my beautiful daughter, because, you know, every day, every moment sort of throughout the day or the next, you know, like it's changing so quick, you know, she'll like hug me, but it's not a hug. And then the other day, like she squeezes you and you're like, oh, what? Like if I wasn't present to be able to, you know, feel that and it's changing so quick. So, you know, I think what's really important in life is to make sure you're present in whatever you're doing at that moment. And we all get distracted, whether it's phones and work and just, you know, make sure you put that time in with those loved ones or your community or your tribe or whatever it may be, because that's really important to make sure you have that positivity and it brings you up, brings your family up, brings your relationships up. And for me, you know, I don't lose out on these special moments that I don't think you can ever get again. It's not like she's going to, you know, squeeze me that, you know, that was that one time that was just like, wow, she hugged me, you know, and then her kiss is like a slobber on my nose because she doesn't know how to get near here, but she's just like, ah, you know, but it's spectacular. So I guess my message to everybody out there would be, you know, make sure to live in your moment, make sure to enjoy every moment as it goes, no matter what it is, no matter what it's offering, and surround yourself with good people, like you said, because, you know, you can make the most of each area and make it the best it is. And everybody always asked me that question when I traveled and competed was, Damien, what's your favorite place to kite? And I was like, my home, because it's like, yeah, I mean, Hawaii is amazing and Australia and Europe, and there's amazing places out there, but your home is where you're, you know, where you feel the most, I guess, comfortable. So,
Yeah,
but
and like, you know, with social media, sometimes, you know, you look at like, you know, Instagram and you see, you know, like the best of everybody's life, or like what seems to be the best or like the highlight, you know, but this is not what like how life is, for anybody. And in the end, the true best moments of your life are not the one where, you know, like, you know, when we saw the like the cool photo of you doing a backflip or whatever, blue water, amazing. This might not have been even the best moment. The best moment, what you nobody captured it because it was just like a simple moment. It was something that just didn't make it on your Instagram feed. So don't, you know, yeah, don't get caught up into like, you know, what, like chasing the what's not real that we see or it is real, but it's not the real life.
reality. Yeah.
And what's, you know, the best moments, it's just simple, it's every day, and yeah, you have to be present to like experience that.
Amen. Well said. All right. Well, we're now going to jump into our patron only live. And we just want to say thank you, everybody out there, for one, supporting us. Two, hopefully we're helping you and your family live better lives and just enjoy this world that we're in right now. And we wish everybody a wonderful day. And thank you, Gwen, for sharing your information. And we're going to turn it over to our patrons who, for a small fee, $5, you can support us, and you get to see videos early. You get to chat with us. You get to ask any question you want, and you get to hear about Gwen's adventures and my baby life.
Yeah, yeah. So go check out the link in the description. That's where you can sign up. And thank you for that. That was a cool conversation. I'm stoked. I'm excited to be back, even though there is no win. But I'm still excited to be back.
Heck yeah. Everybody have a wonderful day, and until next time.
You.